My husband betrayed me. My girlfriend is having a baby, so pack up and leave. He coldly told me so. Are you sure you won't regret this? No way. Just get out of here. He sneered, laughing off my final plea. If that's how he wants to play it, I no longer have any obligation to consider his feelings. I accepted the divorce and moved back to my parents' house. But at that time, I didn't know what was coming next. Who could have imagined that the very next day, he'd be at my door, begging for forgiveness? My name is Lily. My father is an executive at a publicly traded company. After graduating from university, I got a job at a company run by one of my father's acquaintances. It was nepotism, yes, but I worked hard to learn the job so as not to be the subject of gossip. Eventually, my colleagues and seniors began to accept me. I even started to enjoy my work, spending my days in a fulfilling way. Meanwhile, my father seemed worried that I, being totally devoted to work and lacking any romantic relationship, was living a one-sided life. He introduced me to a man named John, who was the most capable among his subordinates, and arranged a dating between us. John is the most successful young man in the team. No, it's all thanks to my superiors and seniors who guide me. My father and John seemed to trust each other. At first, I agreed to date John out of respect for my father, but as I got to know him, I began to think that marrying him might bring happiness. As we went on several dates, I admired how he took the lead. Yes, I was gradually drawn to John. Once my father realized how I felt, he encouraged our marriage. John, honestly, what do you think of my daughter? Well, I am dating her with the intention of marriage. Everything progressed smoothly after John announced his intention to marry me in front of my father. Every time they met, my father and John would happily discuss wedding venues and plans for a new home. Seeing my father like this made me feel that getting married might not be a bad idea. Before our marriage, John gave me a condition. I want you to quit your job and become a full-time housewife. I was reluctant to give up my beloved job, but I really wanted to marry him, so I decided to accept his condition. As soon as we got married, John's attitude towards me changed. To be honest, I didn't want to get married this early. I couldn't believe what I heard. Huh? But you were considering marriage. That's why you agreed to meet me. I only agreed because your father asked me to. I can't refuse my boss's request, can I? John continued with a frown. With your father so enthusiastic, how could I refuse to marry you? Besides, marrying you should secure my career advancement. So you married me for a career advancement? Of course! Why else would I marry a boring woman like you? He scoffed. I was left speechless. I had quit my job and had no income. I had lost my confidence and couldn't retort. Eventually, he stopped coming home and began to frequently go out drinking. When I asked where he was going, he simply said, "It's none of your business." From the perfume he smelled of when he came, it was clear he was seeing women nearly every night. Yet, he showed no signs of having an affair with a particular woman. It was probably just business-related. I convinced myself. As the wife of a capable man, I thought I had to tolerate this kind of behavior. I tried not to think about it as much as possible. Still, it was a fact that I was struggling with a marriage full of forbearance. I wanted to spill all my troubles to someone, but having quit my job and distanced myself from my friends, I had no one to confide in. If I turned to my family, my father would surely worry excessively, and it might affect John's work. I had no choice but to suffer in silence. Around this time, John was promoted to a division manager at an unusually fast pace. I was glad I hadn't brought up anything strange to my father. Hearing about his promotion was a relief to me. With the promotion confirmed, John had been in good spirits at home lately. Although he still rarely came home, the reduction in his sarcastic remarks and criticisms alone was a blessing. However, I realized that John's cheerfulness was not only due to his promotion. While he was in the bath, I accidentally saw a notification on his unlocked phone. I had so much fun today. I miss you already, even though we just parted. I'm looking forward to our sleepover this weekend. It was a message filled with heart symbols. A message clearly from someone he was having an affair with. The text read, "This weekend is a sleepover." He had told me, "I won't be home this weekend due to a business trip." After confirming John's infidelity, I checked the name of the sender. The sender of the message was someone named Kathy. Afterwards, I decided to find out who Kathy was. Fortunately, John seemed to have no idea that I knew about the affair. He continued to exchange lovey-dovey messages with Kathy without even setting a lock on his phone. From their messages, I was able to determine Kathy's address and full name. Kathy Brown? The name rang a bell, but where had I heard it? As I was desperately trying to remember, a photo of the two of them was sent to John's phone. When I saw the picture of Kathy, I inadvertently let out a gasp. Kathy was the daughter of the president of one of our clients. I had met her once at a company party, and her flashy dress had left a deep impression on me. I couldn't believe that John's affair was with Kathy. It was hard to believe, but the photo, name, and place all matched. There was no doubt about it. But Kathy, I remember the rumors about her. I had to tell John the truth. I told him I had something important to talk about and asked him to come home early. Unusually, John came home without protest and started talking before I could say anything. "I actually have something to tell you too," John said with a solemn look on his face. "My girlfriend is pregnant, so I've decided to leave you and be with her." What? He had taken the initiative before I could talk to him. His girlfriend must be Kathy. But she's pregnant? To my surprise, he said, "It's already decided. I've always been appeasing your father, but after meeting her, I realized how pointless my marriage life with you was. She is the one who's suitable for me, not a woman like you who has nothing to offer. She has everything." "So, you're divorcing me?" "Yeah, that's right. You need to leave this house." I asked John, thinking it was my last chance. "Are you sure about this? You won't regret it?" At that, John burst out laughing. "Regret? There's no way, right? Let me tell you something good. My girlfriend is the president's daughter. She's in a different league from your father, who's just an executive." "Didn't you respect my father?" "Respect? That's just a pose for promotion. If I marry her, I'll become the next president of her company. I can quit my current job anytime, huh? In other words, I no longer need to butter up your father." I don't mind if he ridicules me, but I thought he would be sincere about my father and his work. I can't believe he didn't even have that much sincerity. The moment I found out that, my feelings towards John cooled off. "So, I won't say anything anymore. Do as you like." "Yeah, I'll do what I want to do. You don't have to tell me to do." Huh. Even though I didn't ask, John began to talk about her incessantly. "She never told me she was pregnant. Was she considerate of my marriage?" "Then how did you find out she was pregnant?" "I happened to find an echo picture in her bag. She probably intended to give birth alone out of consideration for me. What a courageous woman." Completely smitten with Kathy, John was determined to divorce me as soon as possible and proposed to her. He even prepared the divorce papers. If that's what John wants, it's actually convenient for me. I'm tired of seeing his face too. John signed the divorce paper with satisfaction and immediately submitted them to the court. After he was gone, I quickly packed my stuff and headed for my parents' house. And so, my married life with John ended just like that, I thought. The call from John to my mobile phone came the next night. "Lily, where are you now?" "Where? I'm at my parents' house. What's wrong?" "At your parents'. I see. Can you come by to the nearby diner right now? I have something important to talk about." "Why don't you come here if you have something to talk about?" "I can't do that. Please come. It's a request for a lifetime." Reluctantly, I headed to the designated diner. There was John, who had completely lost his energy. As soon as he saw my face, he said, "Lily, get back together with me." "What?" I got stunned, but John began to speak, painfully. "Actually, she turned down my proposal." I swallowed the words. I knew it. "She had a fiancé that her parents had arranged. From the beginning, I was just a game to her." "Yeah, I know." "Also, the child in her stomach wasn't mine." I had suspected that from the moment I heard she was pregnant. It was a well-known story in our company that Kathy was engaged to a rich man from another company. When I found out that Kathy was John's mistress, I tried to tell John about it, but before I could, John quickly dumped me and tried to switch to Kathy. There was no obligation to kindly tell him the truth. Knowing this would happen, I kept silent all along. "Kathy chose me as a playmate because I'm a married man, thinking there would be no strings attached. When I told her I divorced my wife, she coldly brushed me off, saying, 'Are you an idiot?'" I don't feel sorry for John, who was depressed. He brought it on himself. "Well, you can't compare to a rich young man, can you?" Then John looked at me in surprise. "How did you know that Kathy's fiancé is a rich young man?" I told John that Kathy is the daughter of our company's client. No one in the company doesn't know that Kathy is engaged to a rich young man. I never dreamed that you and Kathy were having an affair. "You knew? Why didn't you tell me?" "I was going to tell you when I noticed you were having an affair with Kathy, but before I could, you told me to get out." "Was that the important talk at that time?" "That's why I asked. Don't you regret it?" You scoffed at me and answered, I don't. Remember? So I was relieved and able to easily tell my family the reason for the divorce. Huh. Did you tell this to your father, too? Of course I did. What have you done? It's not too late yet. Take back what you said. Tell him it was a mistake. Don't be foolish. It's too late. Dad is furious. Well, you don't care what my dad thinks about you now. That's not true. I'm telling you, I want to make amends. It's too late. I have no intention of starting over with you. I refuse to be with a man like you, who changes his marriage partner based on his parents' title. But, besides, your true nature is already exposed to my father. I've told him everything, including when you said, I can quit my current job anytime. Is that a lie? Actually, my father said, if so, I don't mind if he resigns right away. But I thought I could get into Kathy's company at that time. Haha, you're full of regrets. I told you to listen to my advice. I really regret it. So, could you give me another chance? Looking at John begging for another opportunity, I coldly declared, there are no more chances. It's your responsibility to take charge of what you've done. I added more fuel to the fire while John was feeling down. Oh, by the way, I finished reporting to my parents, so please, leave our house soon. What? You've been telling me to get out, but that house is what my father bought for me. The title should be in my name. Wait! I'm in trouble if you tell me to leave. Either way, you're going to move out soon. So what's the big deal? What do you mean? Let me see, you haven't been informed yet. You are being removed from your post in New York. What did you say? You're being relocated to a remote area. At least be grateful that they didn't fire you. My father, who was furious about my divorce, took a quick action. He immediately arranged for John to be transferred to a remote area far from New York. It was also a well-known department for layoff candidates. That's a mix of private and public issues. That's not true. Of course, my father was angry about our divorce, but the reason he removed you from the career track is for another reason. You don't have company loyalty or personal integrity. My father calmly judged that such a person should not be in the upper management of the company. You don't mind if your husband is driven to such a remote area? Ex-husband. You and I are strangers now. Lily, don't say such cold things. Aren't you getting lonely on your own? Huh? How naive can you be? You've been saying that you've been putting up with our married life, but it's the same for me. I've been turning a blind eye to your verbal abuse and affairs because I didn't want my father to be sad. I feel refreshed now that I'm released from that. Lily, don't say that. Help me. Shut up. Do your best in your unwanted duties in the remote area. I left my seat without listening to his words, and I left the diner without looking back once. I was wondering why I had been with such an insincere and pathetic man until now. Afterwards, I got help from a lawyer introduced by my father and got division of property. John, who wanted to hang on to the company somehow, paid the full amount immediately by using up his savings. I was grateful that I quickly received what I could get and completely cut ties with John. He, who had his savings depleted by the payment of damages, seems to be leading a rather simple life in the remote area. The most successful young person? That was a thing of the past. There's no trace of him now, and he seems to have aged all at once. On the other hand, I have been living a leisurely life since I broke up with John. When my previous company found out that I was divorced, they asked me, "We really want you to come back." They recognized me, not because of my father's connections. I was moved by that and decided to return to work. I've always liked my job, so I had no hesitation about going back. Perhaps because my father feels guilty about introducing me to a good-for-nothing man, he keeps bringing me potential suitors. But I'm turning them all down. If a good person appears someday, I might feel like getting married. But for now, I just want to enjoy this fulfilling single life a little longer. I returned to work and worked hard, so I have plenty of money. The life of enjoying both work and private life to the fullest seems to continue for a while.